Okay, today I'm making a video where I'm going to actually show you the coffee beans and the coffee bags that I'm dealing with. So maybe you can see up close and maybe get a little bit better idea of the detail. This might be the last coffee video that I make. I don't really have any others in the works, but I did get a request for this one, so I thought I would go ahead and make this. Now here I've got 3 bags. This one over here is from a local roaster. Personally my favorite, but anyway, I'm going to try not to let that bias me. Terra Rosa is a famous, probably the most famous roaster in Korea, and then this one is from an online, where you can order online, that kind of a deal. So let's take a look at the bags here. Let's start with my favorite. Okay, information on the bag. Okay, so unfortunately, a lot of this isn't Korean, but maybe you can get an idea anyway. So we've got like the farm, we've got the processing place, we've got the country of origin, so Kenya, we've got the varietal right over here, the elevation is 1,750 meters, and the process is washed. Okay, so this is all very important information that we need to know to be able to brew this properly. So good start right off the bat. We've got tasting notes. Now, some of this is like, it's hard to read Korean upside down, but I'm not even going to try. But anyway, it's going to give you a range of tasting notes, and it's going to give you the roast date, the date that it's actually roasted on, not some sort of an expiration date. This is very straightforward information. You can look up the farm, the area. You can basically pinpoint exactly where this coffee comes from and what to expect from it, and maybe even find like people talking about the best way to brew, the best way to approach it, and things like that. So it's really, simple but straightforward and good. So we're going to look at the beans later on, but let's take a look at Terra Rosa's thing next. It's 1+1, so that means you buy one, you get one free. Awesome. Which basically put it at about the same price as this. Okay, so some of the information on the bag. Okay, so it's got the Ethiopia, country of origin. You're a good chef, that's thrown around a lot, but anyway, that's relevant. So then we've got, let's see here, 100%, what does that say? Cup, Kapi Wondu, 100% handmade coffee. Okay, that's kind of BS and not really important. Okay, so it says, what is this? Let me take a look. Hang on one second. Okay. June 3rd. I think that's the roast date. So it doesn't say roast date, but yeah, probably June 3rd. Anyway, so wouldn't be on the back. It gives you a cup of nature, blah blah blah. So a bunch of BS on the back too, which I'd kind of come to expect from some sort of like a larger corporate coffee. But anyway, gonna try not to judge too much. Do I see elevation on here? Yeah, there we go. It's 1,950 to 2,200 meters. That's quite a range. They might be dealing with a few different farms at that point, but whatever. Okay, so then we come to the last one here. This one's Coffee Chango, mountain water process. I guess that would probably mean washed process, but whatever. Kind of a gimmicky thing. They put a sticker on here like, ooh, wow, mountain water process. Like these aren't, right? So these are all grown in the mountains, but anyway. So then we've got this decaffeine, Mexico. Okay, so it's not much information on the front. On the back, we've got a bunch of, I've already looked at this. There's a bunch of BS information. They don't have elevation back here. They just say stuff like 100% handmade, Wondu coffee. Here it says coffee. Okay, so it says 200 grams. They've got like an address. They've got a place where you can, like a customer service returns thing on the back here, but it doesn't really give us any real information. It's not giving us farm or anything like that. So big red flag for this. They try to dress it up and make it look like they're providing a bunch of information, but it's kind of like a politician where they just say a lot of stuff that doesn't mean anything. So, okay, so let's take a look at the beans and see how this kind of all plays out. Okay. All right, I don't really want to mix these beans, so let's take a look one at a time. What I'm looking for is evenness in color and in size. So if there's like a wide variety of color and size, that's a big no-no. That means probably they are mixing batches, like roasting different batches and not keeping any sort of consistency. And then they're just throwing them all into one bag, and you're not going to get any clear character from something like that. You want bags of coffee that all come from the same roast. And if you're getting a bunch of different sizes, that means that they're probably coming from like a huge variety of locations, wildly different beans. And again, you're getting totally different characters. And when you mix the two together, or the three or the four or whatever it is, you're not going to get any sort of clear character. And that's missing a lot of the point of the coffee in the first place. So when I look at this, the bean size and color is even. Looks like a decent medium roast coffee. So I'm happy with this, like considering the information on the bag and looking at the beans, and I can smell. Oh. All right, let's go Terra Rosa next. Let's see what they have to offer. Okay, Terra Rosa, famous coffee shop, or famous company. They've got locations in a lot of the bigger cities and stuff like that, so let's take a look. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, there is information on the side of the bag too, and interestingly enough, they've got a recipe. Okay, on the side it also says 100% coffee. Then they also say the product is coffee. They don't give really any useful information here, but on the other side, they give recipes for a bunch of different brewing methods, which I think is really interesting. So it says, for example, for a drip coffee, you would want to do maybe 18 to 20 grams for a drip coffee. They give you a range of 90 to 93 degrees Celsius. Is that right? 90 to 93 degrees Celsius. And then they give instructions on this. So they also have an French press. They have an AeroPress recipe, and they have an espresso recipe like that. So interesting. I mean, like the fact that they give a range, 18 to 20 grams, and then they give a range of temperatures. That's interesting. And to be honest, when I brewed this, it was a bit bitter when I first did like a standard recipe, and I lowered the temperature, and it did turn out well. So good on them for providing that. So normally you don't get that kind of thing on coffee bags, but anyway, let's take a look at the beans. Okay, what do we got? Not as consistent as the Idongu, the local roaster. There's some beans in here that are pretty light, some that are on the darker side, and some that are somewhere in the middle. And then you've got different size beans, like you've got small, like really small over here, and you've got medium and a bit on the larger side, like that. Not too bad though. Still, all things considered, it wouldn't really bother me. It just, it's just maybe there's some batch mixing going on here, but at least they kept some sort of like, they kept an eye on their process, and the batches are relatively similar. But but there's definitely some mixed beans in here, and there's definitely some mixed sizes. But in general, it's fine. It's not a big deal. All right, let's see if I can do a better job putting these beans back. And I gotta smell it too. Smells pretty good. All right. Oop. Okay, I made a nice big mess over here. Here, let's clean this up. Okay, and then for the last one, take a look at the online deal that was on sale. The one that didn't really have any useful information. Now, just because it doesn't have any useful information doesn't mean it's going to be bad coffee, but it does send up some red flags. Okay, well, yeah. Wow. Okay, interesting. I'm going to spread this out a bit more, so maybe you can get an idea of just how crazy the size difference is in some of these. There's a lot of shards of coffee beans in here, which is really weird. A lot of like really small bits and pieces and small beans and really large beans. I don't know if you can tell this too, but there's oil on some of these beans. Oil that's seeped out on the outsides, so that means that they've been kind of over roasted, in my opinion. Some people like the burnt campfire sort of flavors, but anyway. Anyway, then you've got some that are on the lighter side, like this. So you've got a huge variety of, like a huge spectrum of roast levels and sizes of particles, and you've got shards everywhere and stuff like that. It's really kind of bizarre. Some are like extremely over roasted in my opinion, but anyway, I have no idea what they did. I'm guessing they just took whatever beans from anywhere, roasted them in batches, and just slapped them together and shipped them off just as fast as they possibly could. Yeah, and okay, now I'm just gonna say that I have tried all three of these. Again, this is, I could be surprised by something like this and maybe end up getting decent tasting coffee, but I wasn't. And I really try to keep an open mind here. One second. I try to keep an open mind because I don't want, I want to be as scientific as possible when I'm dealing with stuff like this, and just like really observe and try not to be biased by, my preconceived notions of like information. Like, okay, to me this looks like it should be good. To me this looks like it should maybe be, maybe be pretty decent. And to me this looks like it shouldn't be good. It just so happens that when I brew these all up, basically this ended up being my favorite. And I recently tried some of this again. I've been working on I had gotten 2 bags of the Terra Rosa, and I've been kind of working through those. And I was enjoying those. Those were pretty decent. I was getting more like a tea type flavor, like a Earl Grey type tea flavor from this coffee. Especially the other bag I got was more mellow like that. So anyway, I went back and I tried this one recently and was just like, oh wow, I forgot what I was missing. It's just amazing. So this one is really kind of a bizarre experience because I'll say this much: it wasn't bad. It didn't taste bad. It definitely didn't taste good. It was completely absent of any definable characteristics. Like you could just drink it, and if you're trying to decide what it tastes like, you just never come to that conclusion ever. And I would say this would be a great coffee if somebody is just really not so interested in coffee and they come over and you just want to sit and chat and you just brew up some coffee and it doesn't matter. This kind of thing is fine for that sort of thing. So then again, if you have a choice, if for example, these two are similar in price, and you got one that's a local roaster, just a husband and wife who are very kind, and they're working their tails off. They're not making a whole lot of money, and sometimes you go in there and there's just nobody around at all. And then, this place is doing high volume, making bank. I would definitely go with this one any day of the week. It's by far better coffee. It's just like I feel better about buying it. I feel better about drinking it. I know what I'm getting. I can have conversations with the people who roast it and who source it. Whereas this one, I'd have to call some sort of a corporate office. You know what I mean? Like, same with this one. You know, I mean, like they're still doing a fairly decent job, even though they've become larger. You know, but I don't think you can ever really compare. I think coffee really has to be sort of a personalized thing. You know, like it has to be kind of a focused effort on quality and, you know, kind of in a more of a local source like that. So be that as it may, you could look at that as a positive or a negative. I really find it fascinating to go around to different coffee roasters and, you know, see what they have to offer and what they're like, what kind of work they're doing and the results that they come up with. And it's always different. I am constantly surprised by, you know, what I end up brewing up from places like this. And, you know, when it comes to like a local roaster like this, a lot of times I'm just blown away and very happy with the results. So hopefully that gives you an idea about, you know, kind of how to look at the information on a coffee bag and maybe how to evaluate coffee beans and, you know, try whatever coffee you end up buying, but take a look at it, examine the beans, kind of get an idea of the information on the bag and, you know, are they selling you a bunch of BS and trying to make it all frilly and or whatever, or are they actually providing you with like decent information like this? And then, you know, brew it up and see if the results match your you know, like what you'd typically expect. Don't try not to go in when you actually taste the coffee. Try not to have expectations. Just evaluate it for what it is. But that's, you know, that's kind of my suggestion. It's just you know, put it all together and see if it all lines up, and then you can make more informed decisions in the future. So, all right, I'm gonna cut it off here. Hope you have a good coffee making experience.